why doesn't our godlike being inner self put up some defenses against our chronic attack and influence in our lives? That's a good one. So from my perspective, let's say if we have the godlike being in ourselves and all the other beings, like other aspects and stuff, like they're there, they're powerful, they're conscious, they're knowledgeable and stuff. Like, so why the hell are they not helping us? Like, I'm in trouble, you're so freaking good, you know about my situation, why are you not helping me? Like, what the fuck, man? So you might have like those like thoughts about like what's going on, why are they not there for you and all that. From my perspective, again, I would probably use the whole multiplayer analogy, but like as a conscious being, you create the game, or like let's say you install the game, you create your character, you're playing for a while, and then you're like, okay, had enough for today or for a while, and you turn it off, and you come back there, then you play and you take care of your character, you level them up, you get better armor, you like get to their story, you know like how they're doing and all this stuff. Okay, got done with that. Next day you work on them again, next day you work on them again, and then a new game comes out and you're like, oh, a goodie, and then you leave your game. And then you play something else, and then life happens, and then you were taking care of your problems and all the other things. And eventually you're like, okay, I wanted to download a new thing on my PC, but this, like, I just need more space. And like, what do I delete? Oh, well, this game's not interesting anymore, delete. And the character that was in there, in that game, imagine it being you here on Earth, and your other aspect, or like, let's see, this higher you or whatever, is like, okay, done with that, next. And they forget about you. Like, stop caring about you. Like, okay, it's not a thing anymore. It's not like they, like, so our aspects don't really forget about us, but because they're conscious, because they also want to experience life, because they're also busy with their own things, they simply like, okay, here's a like part of me gonna go here on Earth or whatever. Some like we have those cases, and then like they are busy with their own lives doing something else. And simply, if you daydream, if you imagine something, everything you think of, everything you visualize, everything you create, you manifest it. So let's say you're sort of like, creating this scenario, like, okay, like me and the girl on the beach, just enjoying ourselves, that's so fun, and like you sort of like daydream about it. Well, you just created that. You just created that girl over there, and you're done, and now you're doing something else. Every single thought about those things, when you just visualize those like situations, you manifest them, and they're out there in realities. How many times do you come back and check on your other aspects? How many times do you come back and check up on the specific beings you've created, on specific experiences you sort of dreamed up? How many times do you sort of like log in and check on your characters? You're busy with life and you do something else, and you sort of like daydream, you feel good about it, but then you're like, okay, next, and you're busy with other things. And that aspect of you, or the aspect of other people, they're more like, God, why did you leave us? God, why do you not care about us? And you're like, playing worms or something else, like planting or like eating and all this stuff. And they're the ones, something happened in their life and they need you. You're not there. So there's a lot of these like variations. And while we're the ones wondering why is our godlike being in ourself just doesn't help us, they have their own lives. And literally, we have to do something to reach out. Like, if you want to be noticed, you have to connect with them somehow. And for me, like, one of the things, like, okay, when my cat died, I wanted to make sure he, like, really, like, takes, like, gets taken care of. And even actually before that, like, you know, like, I know it's coming, so, like, I was getting ready, and the day before that, like, I knew, like, okay, he's gonna have to, like, get euthanasia and all this stuff. So, like, literally, I reached out to every aspect of myself. And I told him, like, hey, my cat is gonna, like, his physical body will drop dead, and he's gonna move on. So I need every single aspect of me, those that are available, please come here. Please be there to guide him, to take care of him, to make sure he has a smooth transition, that he goes into the safe world, and he can live his dream life and do absolutely everything he wants, and be safe and be free, and all, like, his needs taken care of. And literally, I reached out to every part of myself. They got the settings, they got the command, they got like the request, and those who are available, who were there, they went and actually took care of my cat. And so like the next day after his death, like I was like actually just getting this like really like good connection with like, oh, he's safe, he's good, and I knew like it's all taken care of, and like, hey. Whew. So I like also like sort of like, instead of like just sort of like reaching out to one part of yourself, like that godlike inner self, I would try to reach out to every possible self you have. It doesn't have to be specifically who, but any part of you, let's say personalities, characteristics, specific events, might be some labels of like, let's say warriors and and guides and healers and da 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 da, and you name those parts of you that you want to help, or you want their help. And as you sort of like connect to them, you're like, hey, I'm here on Earth, and like my name is like da 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 da, and basically you fill in the blanks and you tell them about yourself. You let your position be known to those aspects of you that you want to connect to, and then you ask for help. You might ask like if you can help them out, like it's sort of like you know how homeless people might come up to you and ask for stuff, and you're like, yeah, I don't know. So like it's great if you give them money and all this stuff, but sometimes you're sort of like avoiding those. Like, you know, like, hey, you're just gonna get money and you're just gonna go drink and stuff. Like, so no. And a lot of those things happen. So like some of our parts will be like, here he comes again, tons of problems. I hate helping all the time. So actually sometimes when you reach out, you might want to actually ask if you can offer something, or like, hey, would you like to take my information I have here on Earth? Is there anything I can help you with? And then after you offer something, then you can sort of like even ask for, I need help. I need help with protecting me from entities, or like a lot of these situations in life. And so like reaching out to not just one aspect that's like godlike being in yourself and all this stuff, and that alone can also be, let's say, another entity using that label while you're like, do I even have one? You know, so like reaching out for your other aspects, and all of them would be good. Asking for help would be good. But there's also like part like of reaching out and then knowing that you're getting help, knowing that you're like getting response. So like learning to listen or notice the signs where like all of a sudden, like a lot of times we get inspired, we get this like in like just like down like how the hell do I know this stuff? Like I'm maybe like, you know, you're talking or doing something and just like this flow of information, you're like, did I knew this? Like, where did it come from? Like, I don't remember like reading about it, but like you just know inside. So like literally there are parts of ourselves that will give us that information, and we sort of like need to be aware of it, or could be aware of it. That would help. But there's that. So yeah, a lot of times those parts of us, like let's say God, the godlike self, other higher selves, inner selves, sober selves, and da 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 da, like a lot of this like big ass lists. I would say like those beings, they have their own lives, and they eventually, let's say, create billions of aspects. And after you have billions and trillions of other parts, knowing everyone's name and how they're doing and like watching them all the time doesn't become a thing. It's more like, okay, you can live now, go. You have the whole anthill, like just like tons of fans. Like, do you know each of their names? Do you know what they're doing? Like when they come out, can you tell the difference who's who? So like there's a lot of those parts with our other parts where like, you know, they just like have their own stuff going. So there's that. Hopefully that sort of answers the question.